Hi, so this is the second time I have tried to get this video to work. I would like to have video that works for this class. However, I run into the technology problem. The problem that faces all of us mortals. I will get technology to work. You will work! Okay, but now hopefully it's working, so. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to set up an AutoCAD drawing. Now, with all of you, I told you we would be starting this week. I'm going to expect you to watch this video prior to showing up in class. If you haven't watched this video prior to showing up in class, I'm going to make you watch this video in class, and probably the following video, because this is important for you to understand and to really know what we're doing in this class. AutoCAD is... it's foundational to everything that we're doing, so you got to at least watch these. Now this is the setup video that will show you how to do the setup, how to really arrange this the way that's needed, and we'll talk about dimensions, we'll talk about layers, fun stuff. So first things first, popping out my desktop background, go ahead and hide this. I have AutoCAD 2021. I'll go ahead and open it. It always gives me an error message for some reason. I don't know why. I click through that because I don't even read it anymore. I'm so used to getting that error message. New drawing. New drawing. It's new drawing time. Dun, 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 dun. It's my new hit single. It's called Nerd. My band name is Mega Geek. Just gonna have to learn how to play the guitar now. Actually, I kind of know how to play, but not really. I just know to like rip some sick beats, and it's not even the right terms. Come on, AutoCAD. Come on. Come on, AutoCAD. All right, that's interesting. Usually it pops up with a graph. It didn't do that this time. Now I'm going to be pulling out my handy dandy mouse because I can't imagine trying to do this without a mouse. Actually, I've tried to do it without a mouse. It's a nightmare. So this is what the background looks like. I don't know why my grid, usually the grid always pops up, but it doesn't pop up. It's fantastic because I hate the grid. Regardless, you can change this background to be white. The automatic color brings in is black or this really dark gray color. Personally, I like that, but it's whatever. Whatever. Notice you can just drop a line on here as you wish. Great. Zoom in, zoom out. I'm just scrolling my mouse wheel to make that happen. Click the mouse wheel, drag across the screen. Very easy to navigate here. Before we're going to do anything though, I'm going to go up here to this top bar, menus, and we're going to play around with a lot of different stuff. First thing is we need to know layers, okay? Layers are important for anyone doing anything, anywhere in AutoCAD. Layers allow you can draw multiple layers on top of the same drawing, go back and only print certain layers, which is what we're going to be doing. So we're going to start by setting up our layers, and the goal here is we want to create layers for unique entities that will be on similar drawings. Okay, so I'm going to go in here, and first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drag this window out because for some reason it always tends to scrunch things together so you can't even see it, which is awesome. Thank you, AutoCAD. Okay, this tells a number of things about this. Is when you first open this up, we're in the model space. This model, it says model down there. It doesn't mean that you're a model. It means this is called model space. Model space is where you draw. Model space is where you adjust objects. Okay, in the model space right now, this layer is visible, right? You start off with a 0 layer. 0 layer is just default. It shows up as white in this screen and black on the layouts because it's, I don't know, that's how AutoCAD's always done it. So you'll notice it says white, but when we go click to the layout, it actually does show up as black. That's just so that it's visible here on this layer. But what we'll go ahead and do is I'm going to leave the 0 layer. I like to leave the 0 layer, but I want to have everything that I'm going to possibly use in the entire drawings, I want it in a different layer. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. I'm going to start by calling this zones. Okay. Now, when we create a new layer, we have the option to do a number of different things. We can adjust the color. We can adjust the line type. This will allow it to be a straight line. It could be a dashed line. It could be a dotted line. There are a number of different line types that you can specify there. Line weight usually is default. You can make it super thick, or you can make it super thin. I'm not going to be adjusting line weights in this drawing, but some people will for their drawings to give thicker weights. There are some issues with AutoCADs and line weights that I don't like to play around with, and it causes issues with every student, so I am not going to play around with it. You can adjust the transparency of a certain layer if you want to put things on top of each other and have it be a little bit more visual that way. New VP freeze, it's if a viewport, you want to freeze it in the viewports. Description, if you want to write, here's what the layer type is. If you're going to be handing the drawing off to somebody else, it might be beneficial to have something in the description area to say, okay, use this one for all the fire hydrants, use this one for all the water pipes, use this one for the 6-inch water lines that come in from the inlet from the city, use this one for the 4-inch water lines that are output from this that go into the sewer, and you specifying the different line types, how to use them, and giving the descriptions. It's useful annotation if you're going to hand this drawing off to somebody. If you're the only one who's ever going to see this drawing, it may still be a good idea to put in a description. But I like to put in descriptions just because I never know if I'm going to give somebody my drawing or not. I don't give you my drawings, but so we start with zones. Okay, now what I'm going to do for zones is going to be hatched out sections that show where zones are, and I can just draw it right on top of something and hide it from most of the other views. Okay, awesome. Okay, so got zones done. Next thing that I want to do is I want to type in pavement. Okay, now pavement is kind of an important layer because this shows any sidewalks, the outlines of the sidewalks, any paved structures, concrete pads, large paved structures that I'm going to put in this. Okay, pavement is it's a pretty typical one to use. For the next one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to include foliage. Okay, now foliage is if I'm going to put it in the description real quick, this is all plants. Oh, I can't even see this because the screen's not wide enough. This is all plants. All plants. Come on, AutoCAD, let me there we go. And oh, bushes, flowers, and foliage, except trees. Okay, why? Because for me, I'm going to draw this so that I can separate the trees, because I want the trees to be a little bit more visible than just the additional foliage. I'm going to go ahead and change these to be a purple color. You can do magenta if you like. I like this purple color right there. I'm just going to go ahead and pick it. So any flower bed, any bush that I put in is going to come in automatically as pink. I forgot to do this, but I'm going to change my pavement. I'm going to make this be a dark gray. I want it to be a dark gray because when it shows up in the drawings, it will actually show up as gray, and I like gray. I like gray a lot. Okay, so since I created foliage without trees, I'm actually going to create a section called trees. I'm going to make this one be a darker green. I'll pick that green just for funsies. I like the color. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Other things that you're going to need. Playground structures. Okay, for playground structures, I'm going to go ahead and make this one blue. You can make a lot of these whatever color you want. Try to make it something reasonable. To me, a darker blue seems good. Also, another thing when you're picking colors, make sure it's something that's visible on your viewport. I don't care if it's visible in the model layer. It has to be visible in the viewport. And having the different colors lets you distinguish between different types of objects that you have drawn, and it's a good way of checking to see whether or not you're on track in your drawing. So we'll need playground structures. Another thing that you're going to want to do is buildings. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make buildings brown. Just because that's my preference. Brown is there. It's kind of a darker brown. The permanent structure that we're going to be using for this, I'm going to make it brown, so it's distinguishable. And I can take it out. I can put it into any drawing I want. It'll show up. That sort of things. I'm going to also create a category for benches. And tables. For this one, I'm actually also going to leave that one as brown, but I'm going to make it a little bit lighter brown. Okay, so they're fundamentally different colors. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and create one for lights. Now for lights, I'm going to use a lighter blue color. I don't like this really bright blue color because it doesn't show up very well, and the text kind of doesn't show up very well. But I am going to pick a lighter blue than that darker blue. And that one's going to be for my lights. Okay, so I have benches, tables, play structure, pavement, play surface. For a play surface, this is something that it's not concrete. It's actually whatever you're going to do to put your playground on top of. Has to be, in order for it to be ADA accessible and comply with playground standards, it has to be something that you can fall on without dying. A lot of this could be sand. You can use rubber pellets, although those aren't ADA accessible as much. Usually matting is kind of preferred because it's a lot more maintenance free. But I'm going to go ahead and take my play surface, and I'm going to make it a little bit lighter of a gray color. So it's somewhat different from my pavement, but they're still kind of the same. I am going to go ahead and create a grass block, and for this one I'm going to pick a pretty bright green. Usually when you're drawing in grass, that's just kind of the need there. If you're going to have flower beds, it may be beneficial to have flower beds as a layer. If you're going to have a sports field, if you're going to have bleachers, if you're going to have bathrooms, if you're going to have anything else, it might be nice to create a separate layer for those so that you can distinguish them. Putting in a new layer allows you to put them in that layer, have the layer hide or show up on different drawings. Just telling you right now, prepping for a drawing by putting layers, it'll make sense why we're putting in so many layers right now. It's not just so that we can create a colorful spectrum, it's so that we can distinguish between what items are what when we actually get to our drawing. This may not be all of the layers that we end up using for this project, but it's enough layers that we can at least get our feet wet and get started on that. I may add layers as the semester goes. Depends on how I want my drawing to look. At this point, I don't know. I'm going to be kind of building it in front of you in these Monday lectures. So I have all my layers set. You can hit set current layer. I think that's this one, which means that when I click out of the drawing properties, right now I'm drawing in the 0 layer. If I were to set 0, my current layer is trees, you'll see trees that show up there. Now everything that I draw is going to be that green color for the trees. Okay. Now the nice thing about this is I can also go up here and I can shut off. Now here I'm shutting off the active layer, but it doesn't matter. I can shut off that layer. Now everything in that layer hides, and I can look at the rest of everything. Okay. Nice. Oh, I did forget one. Gonna go ahead and create a new layer. Call this dimensions. And for this one, I usually like to make my dimensions something that's readable. Here, I usually make it blue. That's just a me thing. I like blue dimensions. Some people like green dimensions. Some people like red dimensions. I like blue because it's kind of a pleasing color. You'll notice it's not too dissimilar from lights. I could go back in and change the lights to red, which fine. So colors themselves don't matter. But I also forgot to put in a layer called notes. Notes, I am, nope. For notes, no. Okay. I am going to go ahead and change this to white. It'll show up as white. On the other colors, it'll show up as black. Because I want my notes to be readable, I want them to actually be in black. That's more for the layout tabs, but we'll get there when we get there. Okay, so I have all of these set up. I'm going to go ahead and click out. Okay. Now I'm currently drawing in a layer that's not visible. Any lines that I draw will not show up at all. I'm going to say, oh, I keep drawing, but then nothing shows up. Well, it's because if you go in here, turn this on, oh, they're there. You just were drawing on a layer where it automatically hides it. But they are there. So make sure that your current layer is visible. You'll have to constantly be going in here and saying, okay, I don't want dimensions on, foliage, lights. I don't want any of these to be on. I only want to be focusing on this. And then as we go in through, you can turn these back on, check where things are, kind of see the overall layouts and that kind of a thing. So setting up layers is the first step. The second step is to go to your Annotate tab up at the top. Go to your dimensions. Now, Dimension Style Manager is a lot like managing your layers. You click on this arrow at the bottom right corner. You can come up with different dimension styles. Now, this is valuable if you want to, let's say I'm going to click Modify real quick. If you want to change how many decimals are displayed. If you want to display it in fractions rather than decimals, here, it's very uncommon to use fractions when looking at feet and that kind of a thing. It's also, fractions is kind of gross. You go into architectural here, this actually gives everything in terms of inches and feet. So if you give it a statement of 13, it'll come in as 1 foot 1 inch. Architectural, for this drawing with the scale that we're dealing with, architectural is probably going to be the most appropriate. And you can set it down to a 1/16 of an inch. Half inch is probably going to be the most you're going to want to have on this drawing, if not the whole inch. You can't get that kind of specificity with these because you'll have an as-built configuration compared to the configuration that already exists. So I would set this up as architectural horizontal. That's in the primary units one. Now you can go in and adjust the size of the lines, the line differences, symbols and arrows, text, fit. I usually like to go in here and I like to change this value to be 0.25. That's just mine. And then I also like to change this value to also be 0.25. Okay, that's just personal preference. You see, it kind of pops out there. It looks a little different. If you're drawing something where you need text to be a lot larger, once you have everything in the configuration you like, relative to each other, I wouldn't change it too much. Like I said, I like giving a little bit of separation. Actually, I don't. I'm going to change these down to 1.125, both of them. Let's say I'm like, okay, I like this. This is good. This is clean. Maybe I'll go to 0.15. I don't know. For me, I like numbers. 0.15 sounds good. Okay. Then for everything else, once the relative size and scales are all set, you set your fit. You go into the fit tab, you can actually increase or decrease the fits, and it scales the whole thing proportional to each other. It's not going to make your text smaller than your arrows. It's going to keep everything nice. So for most of yours, if you need to change the size of your dimensions, you use the fit. We won't, because it comes in, the automatic style comes in fairly nicely, shows up on viewports. We're pretty much only going to have text in our viewports as it is, but if we needed to have actual text included in the drawing, I will create a separate dimension style for that text or for those dimensions that will show up here. I'm not planning on doing that though. So for this, it's fine as it is. We're going to leave this standard dimension here. I modified it a little bit. It does have now the architectural units. We're good. You can also do that same thing with leaders, where you specify your leaders, all of those fun things. So leaders, dimensions, text styles, even drawing styles. You can adjust a number of different individual features to kind of make your drawing be what you want to do. If you set some of these up beforehand because you know how it's going to look, usually it'll save you time in the long run. I certainly do it on every one of my drawings because I'm a very particular person. That's it for this video. In the next video that I'm going to post, which hopefully is going to be in about half an hour, I have to attend a meeting real quick. But in the next video, I'm going to be talking about professional displays, viewports, and the layout tab. So I will see you in the next video, or actually you will see me in the next video. If you're going to plan on watching it live, again, maybe 2:30, I'll be posting that. But you'll see me then.